Okay, let's dive in. We're tackling some enormous questions today.
The really big ones.
Yeah, the kind that probably keep you up at night sometimes. What's the point of it all? Is
Yeah.
there any, inherent meaning or purpose?
Heavy stuff.
Definitely. And we're pulling directly from your sources today to explore three, well, powerful philosophical takes on this: nihilism, existentialism, and absurdism.
3 distinct ways of looking at it.
Exactly. So our mission here is to really unpack what each one says about existence, get into their core ideas from your material, and importantly, see how they differ.
And it's crucial to remember, as your sources point out, these aren't just like academic exercises.
Right.
They really represent different ways people have tried to grapple with the human experience, that whole search for meaning when the universe maybe doesn't give easy answers.
Okay, so let's start with the one that often sounds the most challenging: nihilism. Your sources define this pretty starkly, don't they? The idea that life just lacks inherent meaning, or purpose, or value.
Yeah, intrinsically, there's nothing there. No objective moral compass, no ultimate truth about the point waiting to be found.
So the core idea, based on the material, is a flat-out rejection of any meaning or value existing out there.
Correct. It's often tied to a deep skepticism, not just about meaning, but even about knowing things for sure, or having a solid basis for ethics.
And the sources mention a potential consequence of really taking this on board.
Well, yeah. Logically, it could lead to feelings of despair or apathy, because if nothing really matters, well, why bother?
Okay. That's bleak. But let's shift gears. Let's unpack where that potential despair can lead, or maybe how we can react differently.
A different path.
Right. Moving from that idea of a meaningless universe, we get to existentialism. Now this, as your sources describe it, puts the spotlight firmly on the individual, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's all about freedom, choice, and this is key, responsibility, radical responsibility.
So the universe might be indifferent.
It might be. But the existentialist view in your sources argues that we individuals, we create our own meaning.
Ah, okay. So it's not found, it's made.
Exactly. Through choices, actions, commitments, it really emphasizes that subjective, lived experience. Dealing with the anxiety of freedom, striving for authenticity, defining your own purpose.
Which is a direct counter to the nihilist idea that meaning is just absent.
Completely. It's an active construction versus a passive acceptance of absence.
Okay, here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. Because there's this third way presented in your sources: absurdism.
Ah, Camus.
Right, often linked with Albert Camus. And absurdism, as your sources lay it out, it doesn't just deny meaning or say we create it. It focuses on a kind of conflict.
Precisely. A fundamental clash. It's the tension between our very human, deep-seated need to find meaning and order.
And what we actually find.
And the universe's apparent silence, its indifference, its irrationality, maybe. That mismatch, that's what the sources called the absurd.
Okay, so recognizing that clash is step one. But what's the absurdist response? Because it's not despair like nihilism.
No, and that's the crucial difference your sources highlight. Absurdism suggests we should actively embrace this absurd condition.
Embrace the conflict.
Yeah. Recognize it, acknowledge the tension, but then find joy or rebellion or meaning in the struggle itself, living despite the indifference.
So it's about accepting the contradiction without giving in.
Right. And it differs from existentialism, too, because the focus isn't solely on creating meaning out of freedom, but on confronting and living with that specific, unresolvable conflict, finding significance in the act of living fully, even without ultimate answers.
So when you look at all three, nihilism, existentialism, absurdism, your sources do point out some common ground, right?
Definitely. They all wrestle deeply with meaning or its absence.
And they all acknowledge that life is, well, challenging, that navigating existence in a potentially indifferent world isn't easy.
And they all kind of push us to face that reality head on, not shy away from it.
But the key differences, as the material makes super clear, are in the responses.
Exactly. Nihilism sees the lack, potentially despairs. Existentialism, universe is blank. Okay, you write your own meaning. Absurdism recognizes the impossible tension and says, okay, embrace that tension, live defiantly within it.
So stepping back, what does this all mean for you listening to this and thinking about your sources?
Well, understanding these different perspectives gives you a framework, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lens to examine your own questions about meaning, how you approach life. They show different ways people have tried to answer the same really profound human questions.
What's fascinating, I think, is how they offer such distinct, yet maybe equally valid paths forward when faced with the same fundamental predicament.
How to live a significant life.
In a world that doesn't necessarily hand you a script.
So, considering these views from your sources, denial, creation, embrace, how might you choose to find or define significance in your own life against that backdrop?
Something to definitely chew on.
Indeed. Something to ponder until our next deep dive.